The faded letter felt fragile in Clara's hands, its edges softened by years of anxious rereading. On the porch of her small blue house, the sea wind carried the scent of salt and pine, the same scent that clung to James's uniform when he hugged her goodbye 7 years ago. Their love story began in their senior year, a slow dance under the dim gym lights, the scrape of their chairs on the bleachers as they shared their dreams for the future. James, with his storm gray eyes and quiet strength, had been deployed to the Middle East just weeks after graduation. He was a naval officer, and she, a bookish girl who found solace in tending gardens. He promised to come back to her after his one tour, but war had a way of stretching timelines and leaving scars. Communications grew sporadic, then ceased altogether. Silence became their new language, a thick, suffocating blanket over their young love. Still, Clara held on to hope. She kept James' room in their shared house exactly as it was, uniforms hanging in the closet, his boots by the door, a photo of them at the lighthouse on the night he proposed. Every Sunday, she lit a candle in the window, a tradition from old sailors' wives. So he'll know the way home. She worked at the local library, helping Mrs. Willowbrook with her genealogy research and quietly organizing the card catalog. She helped raise her younger brother after their parents died, filling their home with laughter and the scent of baking bread. She turned down kind offers of companionship from men in town, men who admired her spirit and resilience. "He's coming back," she'd say with a soft smile. "And when he does, I want him to walk into a home that still feels like ours." Then one rainy Tuesday in November, a local news segment caught her eye. It was a feature on veterans reintegrating into civilian life. And there he was, James Mercer, alive, standing beside a woman and 2 young children at a community center in Cedar Ridge, 200 miles inland. The woman was Lila Hart, a nurse who worked at a military hospital in Germany. The children, Sophie 6 and Eli 4, were his. The reporter called them a beautiful new beginning. Clara's teacup shattered on the floor. She didn't scream, she didn't cry. She stared at the screen, rewinding the clip, watching him laugh as a little girl tugged his hand. He looked healthy, at peace, like a man who never spent 7 years at war, never made a promise to a woman by the sea. The next morning, Clara packed a small suitcase. Not in anger, but in need of truth. She drove through the night, the locket cold against her chest, the letter folded in her coat pocket. Arriving in Cedar Ridge under gray skies, she saw a woman hanging laundry on the line, a man mowing the lawn, colorful toys in the yard. A handmade welcome sign hung on the door. From her car, she watched James lift Eli onto his shoulders as Lila kissed his cheek before heading to work. A family. A life. She didn't confront them at first. Instead, she visited the local VA office, posing as a researcher. She learned the truth. James had been injured in an explosion, suffered memory loss for several months. Lila cared for him. They grew close. When his memories returned, he chose to stay. Not because he forgot Clara, but because he said, "I don't belong to that life anymore." A former comrade, now a counselor, told her quietly, "He talked about you every day at first, but over time the guilt became too heavy. He told me, I can't go back to someone who waited for a version of me that doesn't exist." So he let her believe I was gone. Clara finally approached him one afternoon as he walked home from the grocery store. He froze when he saw her, his face drained of color. "Clara, I thought you'd moved on." She didn't yell. She simply opened the locket and showed him the photo of them. "I waited," she said, her voice trembling but clear. "I kept the light on. I planted the roses you loved. I lived half a life because I believed in your promise. And you were alive. You were living. Just not with me." James collapsed against a tree, sobbing. He admitted everything. He confessed that he remembered her all along, that he wrote letters he never sent, that he dreamed of her, but that guilt and fear kept him from returning. "I thought you'd hate me. I thought I didn't deserve you." Clara walked away without another word. Not because she didn't love him, she did, deeply, achingly, but because sometimes love isn't enough when one person chooses to disappear while still breathing. Back in Havenbrook, she didn't burn the letter. She placed it in a drawer beside James's old uniform. Then she walked to the garden where the roses he loved were overgrown and wild. She began to dig, not to uproot them, but to plant something new. Lavender, for healing. Weeks passed. A letter arrived from James. Not an excuse, but a confession. I was a coward. I built a life to escape my pain, and I buried yours in the process. I will never stop loving you. But I understand now that love isn't ownership. It's release. Clara didn't reply. But one morning she took the locket and placed it on the prow of an old sailboat, her late uncle's boat, left to her in his will. She pushed it into the sea, watching it drift toward the horizon, a silent farewell. Some people don't die in war. They vanish in the quiet moments between heartbeats, the moment they choose comfort over courage, silence over truth. And the ones left behind don't mourn a death. They grieve a betrayal dressed as survival. But even then, the sea keeps washing the shore. And life, however scarred, keeps moving forward.